Good day, ladies and gentlemen, students. Welcome back to another session of our learning experience only here at RDT 101, or shall we say medical terminology. So, welcome back to another journey of a wonderful learning experience. No? So, by the way, we have been on a short discussion last week with regards to the subject matter. So, I already introduced to you what are the course requirements in the subject, as well as what are the necessary things that you need to learn in the subject, or the necessary competencies. No, I think that was presented on the orientation last week, and on this session we will be going to a serious part of learning this subject. So I know you're all excited to learn about medical terminology since the day one. So I was observing you that time that you are really excited to gain knowledge about medical terminology. So as of this time, we will be gonna starting over to a new topic, okay, which is the introduction to medical terminology and principal root word. So this is one of the very major component, or the fundamental aspect. Why do we need to study medical terminology? And as well as we'll get closer to some aspects or some elements of medical terminology as well. Now, may I proceed now? So next, our objectives for these sessions are the following. Okay, number one is to discuss the principles and significance of medical terminology. Why do we need to study medical terminology? What are the fundamental aspects of studying medical terminology? So what are the uses of medical terminologies, and what is the main purpose of studying medical terminology? Second is we have to explain the rules of pronunciation in medical terminology. So how are we going to utter specific term in the medical field? No, so it differs from word to word, from different aspects, where the words has been derived from. So that is one competency that we need to learn in this session. Third one is to identify the various medical words, prefixes, suffixes, and root words. So these are these are the components of principal root word, or in the medical terminology. So we need also to know the subdivision, how the specific medical terminology is being derived, no, from its prefix, from its root word, from its suffix, and from anything else that could be a reason why the word is being formulated. The fourth one would be also all about discuss how to build medical vocabularies. So by knowing the different aspect or fundamental parts of a medical terminology, then we can arrive at a medical vocabulary based on the subdivisions or the divisions of word in the medical terminology. And lastly is to classify the different roots from each of the body systems. So we all know that each of the body system possess its different kind of terms, no, depending on the aspect or the procedure or the state of a specific condition. So basically, medical terminology is a very complex ideology. So we need to really incorporate the different knowledge or different fundamental aspects in these subjects, so that we could really understand the basis or the explanation itself for this subject. Now, next thing would be, okay, so since we already know our objectives for this session, so let's get to know also about the medical terminology through its glance, okay? So medical terminology at a glance. So why do we need to study medical terminology? Okay, as you can see on the screen, studying medical terminology is like learning a new language. So as you observe on our discussions as we go along, that this subject would it's supposed to be just like an English language class, not from your basic education levels, but then it has a shall we say, it has a touch with the medical aspect, no, kumbaga. So we're also studying linguistics, no? So shall we say medical linguistics. Okay, second one is that the basic rules for building terms will keep you both build and translate many different words, no? So out of those words, or the combination of words that you have derived, so it establishes different meaning, different definition, and different aspect of a specific medical term. And lastly is that you must be able to put words together or to build words from their parts. No? So in this subject, we will be formulating or we will be forming words out of those from the principal root word, the prefix, the suffixes, and so on and so forth. And we will do that one later on at the end of this session. Okay, now let's get to define what is a medical terminology. So when we say medical terminology, okay, medical terminology is defined as a language that is used to accurately describe the human body and associated components, conditions, processes, and procedures in a science-based manner. So it is not all about the common jargons, or shall we say the layman's term that we should know about medical terminology, but instead we will get to know more to a specific aspect wherein the terms that is being formulated is based on what it represents. No? It is based on factual situation like the science itself. Okay. The second one is that the words or terms which make up the language of medicine are referred to as terminology of a medical field known as the medical terminology. So all of the words or the terms that is being used in the clinical setting, no, discussions with the healthcare professional, and that is what we called medical terminology. Okay, let's proceed. Okay, other definition would likely be, like every other language, medical terminology has changed over time and will continue to change. So the medical terminology has been on a rapid evolution, whether from the start, from the very beginning where it started, it came from Greek and Latin languages. So most of the terms for the body's organs originally or originated from Latin words, whereas describing the disease that affect these organs have their origins in Greek. So both Greek and Latin words are the originated words how the medical terms was derived. Okay. Many prefixes and suffixes have more than a single definition, so one must learn to use the definition that best describe the term. So later on in our discussion today, you will get to know on how to define a specific term using the word component. So malalaman natin yan as we go along with our discussion. Okay. Next, okay, why do we need to study medical terminology based on its importance? Okay, what is the importance of medical terminology to us as a healthcare professional or to us as a radiologic technologist? Okay, now, medical terminology simplify communication or break down the language barrier. So since we're all of us are clinically inclined or we are healthcare professionals, so the usage of medical terminology will simplify our communication and remove language barriers. So as we can see in a communication model, it composes of different elements. No, so with the use of medical terminology to our healthcare professional, whether a doctor, a pharmacist, a medical technologist, a nurse, and so on and so forth, which is in line in the allied health field, no? So we can break down the language barrier as we used these terminologies. Okay, the second one is that it establishes easy understanding, which serve as our common language or medical jargons to our field. No? So with the use of medical terminology, we can easily understand the concept on what it's all about, what is the existing condition of a specific patient. So that's it. Okay, the third is that they are specific terminologies, thus makes no need to use general terminology. Since we already use this medical terminology, then it represents specific aspect or a specific condition in the medical field. So therefore, we don't need to use what we so-call the layman's term, perhaps. Okay, now, next let's get to know the fundamental word structure on how this terminology is being derived or is being formulated. Okay, now the fundamental elements in medical terminology are prefix, or it represented by a letter P, the root word and represented by letter R, and a combining form which is represented by letters C and F, and the suffix, which is represented by letter S. So these are component parts used to build medical terminology. Hey, how are we going to build medical terminology, sir? So let's get to know each of the fundamental word structure. Right. So let's start with the prefix. So when we say prefix, so prefix means to fix before or to fix to the beginning of the word. So from the word itself, pre, so meaning before or beginning. So a prefix is a syllable or a group of syllables placed at the beginning of a word to alter or modify the meaning of the word to create a new word. So with the use of prefix, so it is being put in the beginning of a specific root word to create another meaning of a word. So now, the prefix is a word component, that is placed on the front of a root word to change or modify its meaning. On the other hand, the prefix can give a root direction or a position. It can also give a root of a specific type or classification, quality, or quantity. So what are the examples of prefixes? We have this one. From the screen that you have that was presented on you, so these are the following examples of a prefix. So there are a lot of examples of the prefix from the word itself. So I will be using one word and then an example. So now let's start with the example word or example medical term that is being presented on the screen. The word there is acromegaly. So if you're going to identify the prefix, so where is now the prefix? As you can see, the highlighted syllable on the word is the acro. Acro, which means extremities. And the other word is megaly, which means enlargement. So from the word itself, of the medical terminology that was presented, so the prefix there is acro. And the other word, maybe it can be a root word or a suffix. But we will note later on what is the ruling on how to use that one. Now, using this form, so here are examples of prefixes. We have the AB or ab. It means that away from the midline. Acu or means needle. Anti, which means against. Next would be auto or self. Bi meaning two, both, or double. Dis or dys means abnormal, bad, or painful. Hemi means half. Hetero means opposite or different. Homo means same, or similar. Hester means uterus. Men means menstruation. And quadri means four. Re or re means back or again. Super means above or beyond. And three or chi means three. The next example would be the following. So there are a lot of examples that are being presented to you, but I will be giving you also a sort of notepad with regards to the examples of medical terminology that was presented on your course packs. So here it goes. So as you can see, I use the prefix acro, which is stated in this slide. So the prefix acro, which means extremities. Meaning if we combine acro and the suffix megaly, it means that an enlargement of extremities. What are an extremities? This involves the hands, the lower limbs, and the upper limbs. Next, here are also some examples of a prefix. So just read it and understand the meaning. For example, hydro. From the word itself, hydro or fluid, water. So I'll give you some example. Hydroencephalus. Hydroencephalus means there is a fluid in the brain. Next would be inter. And intra. Intercavitary and intracavitary, meaning intercavitary between the cavities, and intra means within the cavities. The iso. Iso It is iso, it means equal. So there is equal distribution. Like for example, if we use iso in sonographic terms, and you will know sonographic terms as you go along with their higher levels. Okay. The word iso that can be applied in sonography is an isoechoic. So iso from the word itself, it means equal. And echoic means echoes. Okay, so there is isoechoic or equal echoes presented on the sonographic image. So ganyan lang kadali gamitin si prefix. Okay, so now let's proceed with the more complex or another sort of fundamental parts of a medical term. So let's proceed with the principal root word. Okay, the principal root word or a root is a word or word element from which other words are formed. Okay, this serves as the foundation of the word and it conveys the essential meaning of the word. Okay, many roots are real words in their own right and term, right? So although these roots can have other elements, they don't need other elements to complicate. So, kumbaga, they can stand alone without the use of prefix, without the use of suffix. But then we need to use prefix and suffix so that we could establish a meaning that is quite different from the root word itself. Okay, a root word can be a whole word or a part word. Okay, roots come from many different languages, whether from the Greek or Latin, and find their way into English term. Okay, so translating them into English term would be very helpful in our subject or in establishing a meaning in medical terminology. All right, to proceed, so here are examples of a root word. Okay, all of medical terms have at least one root word. So most of the root, sinabi ko kanina, are derived either Greek or Latin language. For example, dito. Okay, I will be presenting to your root words in the respiratory system or roots in its meaning. Like for example, alveole. Okay, or the alveolus meaning one. For the singular word would be alveolus, and for plural representation would be alveoli. Okay, those are parts in the respiratory system. Okay, next would be epiglottis. Okay, epiglot. Okay, that is the root word for epiglottis. Okay, lobe. That is the root word for lobe. Nas is a root word for nose, and or is a root word for mouth. Okay, next. Okay, what are the example? Okay, so yun yung siya mga examples ng root word. Next would be the next principal component, so the combining form. When we say combining form, it is a root word to which a vowel has been added to join the root to a second root or to a suffix. Okay, the vowel O is the most commonly used vowel in combining forms. So they are found at the beginning of a word or within a word. Okay, what are the examples? Okay, as you can see, combining or linking forms is formed when a word root is combined with a vowel. As what I have said earlier, that usually the vowel O is used as a combining form, but also E and I vowels are used occasionally. For example, combined word from root word plus O. Okay, most of the medical terms can be broken down into parts like sentence. Okay, it starts with the prefixes, root or words, and then suffixes. So the medical terms will contain one or more of these components. Okay, let's see it in the succeeding slides. Okay, here are the combining words. So as you can see, that we have this ALB or albin, which combines with the vowel O, and look, which combines also with vowel O, which means color or white. Right? So these are examples of a combining form, which represents color. Okay, from the word chlor and vowel O, it's green. So like the other, the cyan and O, which is blue. Cyanosis, it is a bluish discoloration. And chlorophyll, it is a green pigment in the plants. So yun siya ang example ng combining form. So now let's proceed with the suffix. So this is would be the last component, or the principal components of formulating medical terminology. So what is a suffix? Okay, suffix means to fasten on beneath or under a suffix. Okay, a suffix may be a syllable or a group of syllables united with or placed at the end of the word to alter or modify the meaning of the word or create a new word. So, as you observed a while ago, prefix is for the word that is fastened before the root word. The suffix itself is fastened after the end of the word. Yan. So don't forget, pre means before, suffix means after. Okay? What are the examples of suffix? Okay, here are some examples of suffix. I will read one. The synthesis or the puncture, tap or draw fluid. Okay, that is an example of suffix. And if we combine thorax and synthesis, we will be formulating thoracentesis. Okay, which means it's a puncture of drawing of fluid in the thorax. Okay, so yun siya. Another example would be ectomy or excision, removal, or cut out. So I'll be giving you example like if we combine appendix and ectomy, so we will form a word appendectomy, which is a surgical incision or surgical removal of the appendix. Okay, did you understand? Next would be puncture or to pierce a surface. If we combine vein and puncture, we will be forming a word venipuncture. So meaning this means that to pierce a surface in the veins. Okay, that is a correct or concrete example of how we combine words. So we will get to know more or to the practical aspect of forming words. All right. Next would be your example, okay? Assay or examine or analyze, immunoassay. Okay, we'll be examining the immune component of the blood. Okay, another we have also this aspect or the ragia or excessive flow, refuse fluids discharge, or rage or excessive flow, refuse fluid discharge. Okay, this is an example of, for example, hemorrhage. Okay, excessive flow of blood or profuse fluid discharge. Okay, next would be suffixes that all mean or pertaining to. Okay, from the word itself, it from the AC. Okay, it entails cardiac. For example, we use it suffix in this word cardiac, so it pertains to the cardiovascular system or the heart itself. Okay, IA or the bradycardia, this pertains to the normal or the slow movement of the cardiac muscles or its heartbeat or slow movement of heartbeat. Okay, yan siya yung mga examples ng suffixes that pertains to a specific part or specific condition in the body. Okay, meron din tayo nito. Okay, algeia, algesia, which means pain. Okay, site means cell. Okay, imia, which wherein it means blood condition. IST, which means specialists. Okay, itis means inflammation. Okay, if we combine the word appendix and itis, we can form appendicitis, which means an inflammation of the appendix. Okay, yan siya. Logist, okay? One who studies or specialist. Okay, when you say radiology and the logist, we will be combining that one, and then we can form a radiologist. Okay, from the word itself, it means of a specialist which studies radiology. Okay, from the word itself, we can derive the meaning of a specific term. Okay, next, ayan, meron ding examples. Okay, therapy, treatment, radiation therapy, chemotherapy. Okay, it is a therapy that uses chemotoxic drug to kill cancer cells. Okay, yan yung mga examples ng other suffixes. All right. So what are the rules in using these terms? Okay, number one is that to define medical terms, divide or slash them into their component parts. Okay, these word components are called prefixes, suffixes, and roots. Right, okay. Now, you may use also hyphen after the word component to indicate that it is a prefix. Use it after combining form to indicate that it is a suffix. All right, and use it before the word component to indicate it is a suffix. As you can see, epi hyphen, which means prefix, right? And gast or gastr, which is the root word, slash o, which serve as a combining form or combining vowel, then hyphen the suffix, which is seal or epigastrocele. Okay, that is a word that is being formed with the use of with the application of the rules in our subject. All right. Next, okay. Use the combining vowel O when a suffix begin with a consonant. Okay, if a suffix begins with a consonant, use vowel O. Okay, from the word, so logi. Okay, the word from this or the suffix in this term is logi. So meaning logi starts with the letter which is consonant, then use a combining form, a vowel O, which to combine termin. Okay, from the word itself, terminology. All right, so that is a good example, a concrete example. Next, okay, use the combining vowel O when combining two roots only if the second root begins with a consonant. Okay, when we see a second root which begins with a consonant, okay, as you can see, then the root word there is num. Okay, it begins with consonant itself as well. Okay, so use vowel O, so pneumothorax. Okay, which means air, or the presence of air in the thorax. All right, next. Do not use the combining vowel O if you are combining a second root that begins with a vowel or a suffix that begins with a vowel A, E, O, U, and sometimes Y. Okay, this is the example. Pneumoarthrosis. So when, as you can see, that the suffix begins with a vowel sound, no, so you will not going to use O as a combining vowel, but instead walang combining vowel. Okay, that will really serve as the suffix itself would serve as a combining form in this matter. So pneumoarthrosis, okay, air in the joint. All right, next. The suffix osis always denotes a condition, usually abnormal condition, right? Okay, when combined with the color roots erythro or red and leuc means white, it represents a condition of abnormally increased blood cells, okay, leukocytes, okay? Meaning there is an increased number of leukocytes, okay? Erythrocytes, okay, inflammation of this, of the red blood cells, okay? That could be example. And also add a suffix y to a word to indicate a procedure, for example, gastroscopy, or ly to indicate an act of process. Okay, splenomegaly, splenomegaly. Okay, meaning the enlargement of spleen. Next, okay, the last rule would be, most of the time, word components denoting color are used as prefixes. However, sometimes they are the root of the medical term. All right. So how are we going to build the word? So we will be using a word building process. Okay. The word building process is defined as putting together several parts to form a variety of terms to convey the necessary information. This begins with knowing the meaning of the various word parts in order to select and correct ones. And always remember the rules regarding the location of each of the word parts. So how are we going to build a word? So let's divide the term into its word parts, okay? We can see a medical term, gastroenterology here. Okay, so does the term gastroenterology have prefix? The answer is none. Wala siyang prefix. Okay, next. How about the root word? What is the root word from this word? So we have root word here. We have two root words, okay? The gast and enter. So the gast means stomach and enter means small intestine. So konting-konting push na lang, malalaman na natin ang meaning ng the word gastroenterology. Okay, so what are the combining forms used in this? We have two combining vowel used in this word, in this term. We have two vowel O, okay, which means no meaning, but it serves as a combining vowel. Okay, So now, if we define, we have also the last part. Okay, what are the suffix? What is the suffix in this medical term? Okay, we have logi, which means the study. Okay, it means the study. So here are aspects also. If we define the term, it is the study of the stomach and the small intestine. All right. Next would be the ruling about pronunciation. So we already know the word building process, and now we will be knowing more on the pronunciation, or how are we going to utter the word. Okay, from the word itself, so these are examples of a common mispronounced word in the medical terminology. We have artery, or shall we say from the other term, it is a study of paintings, right? But it has different spelling, okay, benign, okay, which is, if we will be pronouncing it in the medical term, we'll be having benign, okay, so that's it. Okay, morbid, okay, urine, okay, urine versus urine, okay, tablet versus small table, or tablet, which is a medicine. Okay, if we are going to pronounce it using the medical field, so stress the syllable, that will be in the capital letter. Like for example, the word pericarditis, okay, how are we going to pronounce this one? That is pericarditis, okay. We need to emphasize ditis in this medical term. Okay. Next, how about spelling, sir? So how are we going to know about the spelling? Okay. So what are the rules in spelling? Okay, as you can see, as we observed, that only one correct way to spell a term. So there is only one way, no, in spelling a term. So kaya ang sinabi nila that wrong spelling is wrong. Kasi nga it will alter the meaning if we use wrong spelling in a specific term. Okay. Next one would be changing one letter can change the meaning of the word. For example, we have abduction, or moving away, versus adduction, which means moving towards. Abduct means away, adduct means towards. Okay, another set would be ileum. Ileum in the small intestine and ileum in the hip bone. So those are two different words which is pronounced the same. Okay, next. We have also Psy for psychiatry and Psy for cytology. We have this in dyspepsia and this in dislocation. So these are same sound which are spelled differently. Okay? Hindi lang yun siya applicable for English language subject, but as well as also in the medical terminology. And next also, we will now discuss about singular and plural endings, no, in the medical term. How are we going to apply this one? All right. Okay. Many medical terms came from Greek or Latin words. Okay. Rules for forming plurals for these languages are different from English. For example, the plural of atrium is atria, not atriums, right? So, hindi naman siya pwede. It's quite different if we use atriums, okay? Atrium and atria. So, atrium for singular, atria for plural. Other word would be, where English rules is used from ventricle to ventricles. Okay, yan siya. Next, okay, consonant plus y. Okay, change y to I and add es. If, for example, if a word or a term ends with y, change to convert it into plural term, replace y with the vowel sound I and add es. Okay, for example, puppy to puppies. Okay, that is a good example. Next would be, okay, so here are examples of different terms, okay? Okay, word ends in A, okay? What would be the, add E, okay? Vertebra, okay? To make it plural, add E. To make it plural, vertebrae. So, maraming vertebra, okay? Word ends in AX or thorax, okay? Add ES to make it plural, thoraces, okay? EX or IX, appendix, okay? Add ES, okay? That is appendices, okay? IS, metastasis, add, change I to E, that's metastasis, okay? So here are examples on how are we going to convert from singular to plural, okay? So last would be acronym. So when we say acronym, it is an abbreviation formed from the first letter of each word in a phrase. For example, IUD, which means it is an intrauterine device. So that is an example of acronym or an abbreviation. Okay, so I think that ends our session for today. So hopefully that you have learned the basic fundamental aspects on how we use or how what is the main purpose of using medical terminology. Okay, the fundamental principles in the field of medical terminology. On the next sessions, we will be getting closer to each of the subdivisions or each of the aspects of the body. Now, we will now relate all of these terms that we have encountered earlier to specific condition or pathological condition, specific parts of the body. Kasi nga, in the medical terminology, since it is a complex ideology, no, so we need to have a very specific output, very specific, establishing a specific vocabulary in a specific part or specific condition in the body. Okay, so hindi siya the same. Hindi, unlike with the usage of a normal word or a jargon, no? So it's quite different. Okay, I will be uploading exercises to our learning management system. Okay, so feel free to answer if you have questions and clarifications. No, so don't hesitate to raise this one on our synchronous meeting next week. Okay, so just keep in touch, or if you cannot ask it on our on publicly, so you may PM me, okay, so that I will be raising that concern to all of your classmates. Okay, is that okay with you? So I think let's call it a day. Thank you so much for listening, and welcome once again to medical terminology. Have a nice day, everyone. Keep safe, and God bless us all. Bye bye.